now might be a real good time to pass this over to Alex and just kind of let him talk about, financial planning as it relates to real estate. But not only that, as it relates to diversification, because you're getting ready to start a new chapter here. And as a first-time buyer, you want to make sure that things are balanced so that your portfolio, not just your house or your 401k or whatever, your portfolio grows. So at any rate, Alex, you want to take it away and talk about making some good financial decisions?
I suppose I do. Man, my slide doesn't look nearly as good as yours, but the next couple look a little bit nicer. So I mean, I kind of came at this. Scott asked me to jump on here too and just kind of give my perspective. I could talk for quite a while about portfolios and how to build wealth, especially over years. I kind of came at this from the perspective that I'd be speaking with people who are looking to buy a home for the first time. And as such, I kind of wanted to start by just saying, one way that I kind of talk with my clients about saving is to consider different buckets of money for different time frames. So, for example, on the right-hand side, long-term is what I would consider 10 or more years. And when I think of something like that, I oftentimes think of retirement, like I said before. So when you have a 10-year long investment or longer, 20 years, whatever, you take the highest amount of risk. So you should go into stocks, real estate. So your home could very easily be considered part of this bucket. But the reason I kind of bring this up and want to talk about it is because you might be thinking, how far in the future am I really thinking about buying a house? Is it in next year? Is it this year? Is it a couple years from now? Is this like a medium-term goal? And essentially, the closer it is to becoming a reality, the closer, if it's just a year from now or what have you, the less risk you should probably be taking with the kind of money that you might need for the down payment on that house or something along those lines. So, I would seriously consider taking a look and seriously thinking about what is your goal for purchasing a home? Is it going to happen this year, next year? Is this a 5-year goal, a 10-year goal, et cetera? And then kind of deciding from there, all right, well, as I'm saving my money, what type of investments, what kind of financial instruments are appropriate for that type of a time frame? And as you get closer, so if you're thinking 5 years down the road is when I'm buying a house, and now 3 years have passed, now we're starting to de-escalate our risk a little bit. We're going more and more into cash and less into other things like index funds or stocks or et cetera. So that's what that the risk on the bottom thing is. The more risk, the longer, the shorter period of time, the less risk that I would recommend taking. So that's kind of where I wanted to start, just in that time frame, in that mind frame. So you go to the next slide. Thank you. So, and then a similar thought is, okay, I'm starting to save money for retirement, for the purchase of a home, let's say. And maybe I have an 8-year time frame. So here's just like the idea, the power of compound investing illustrated. So you have $10,000 and you save it for 8 years and you get a 7% return. That turns into $17,000. And I put in brackets down there and save what you can. But if you do that same $10,000 for 8 years and you're saving $200 a month on top of it, you have $43,000. Big difference, right? So even if you don't have anything today and you save $300 a month for 8 years, so you don't start with that 10 grand, but you're thinking, hey, I really want to make this house a reality. And, 8 years is arbitrary. Maybe it's 5 for you or longer or shorter, et cetera. But $300 a month for 8 years gets you up over $38,000. And then, by the way, I just threw that down there at the bottom, retirement. If you do save, this is the real power of compound investing. If you save $200 a month at that same 7% for 30 years, that's close to $250,000. So all of this stuff can be a reality. You don't have to be a millionaire. You don't have to be able to put $10,000 away every month or whatever. Just little things, incremental things can make your goals become a reality. Yeah, and I'm ready for the next page.
Sorry.
All right. But now you want a house. Okay. So why would you want a house from a financial planning perspective? Well, this is kind of like what Scott was bringing up about graduation rates and test scores. The median net worth of a homeowner is $255,000. For a renter, $6,300.
Wow.
So very clearly, there's something to the idea of paying yourself as opposed to a landlord when it comes to building wealth for yourself. It's pretty obvious just according to the numbers. And here's one piece of practical advice that I can give you. If you are a first-time homeowner, and maybe you have a 401k or an IRA or a Roth IRA, according to the IRS, you can take $10,000 out of that retirement account penalty-free towards the purchase of a first home. So that's something to seriously consider.
That's interesting.
In my line of work, it's like a big no-no. Don't ever tell people to cash out your retirement accounts. Don't do that. It's a bad idea. I would say this is the one exception. If this is the difference between you owning a home and not owning a home, I think the numbers are pretty clear. You should own a home. It's how you build wealth in this country and probably the world. And also, I might just say that there is a bill right now for Congress proposing to double that amount to $20,000. So that very well might happen within the next few months or even shorter. Could be a reality this year and might be worth considering or at least exploring. So
I love it.
Next page. Thank you. All right. So what do you invest in? This is where I'd say I'm not here to give any investment advice. Another taboo would be to give general investment advice because everybody's situation is different. It's individual to yourself, and it really involves taking a look at your specific situation and coming up with tailored solutions to it. So consider speaking with a professional, someone like myself or somebody else that you trust in this line of work. I will say this, though. Talking about short-term investments is kind of alluding back to my first point. If you are going to purchase something in the next couple of years, don't take any risk. It's not worth it. We saw this happen. If you had been in the stock market and planning on buying a house in 2022, and you were in the stock market in 2021, and you left it in there, you might have seen your stocks go down. So, but I should let you know too, interest rates have gone up. That's bad. That's theoretically bad, although Ross has a lot of solutions for your mortgage rate. But one thing it's good for is that you can actually make a decent amount of money on cash. CDs and money markets, which I use at Edward Jones, are paying well over 4% right now. So if you just have your money in a normal savings account, seriously consider taking a look at what other alternatives are out there. Those instruments are usually FDIC insured. And oftentimes, like money markets are liquid, you can take your money out at any point. So that's, I think, a good option for a short-term plan for the purchase of a home. Make a little interest on the side. All right. And then this just kind of sum things up, general thoughts when it comes to purchasing a home. Don't buy more than you can afford. You don't want to be house poor. One good way to do that, put together a budget. I put an example of a monthly budget worksheet. Those pages should probably be flipped, but either way, take a look at what type of a mortgage payment will fit into your budget and won't put you in a bad spot at some point in the future. And then I had some thoughts too. I mean, once you own a house, if you can pay your mortgage off faster, that's a pretty good investment. A 30-year mortgage obviously depends on how big your mortgage is, but it should easily cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars in interest. If you do a 15-year mortgage, you'll have a higher monthly payment, but you'll have a lower interest rate. So even though 15 is half of 30, you're not going to have double the mortgage. It'll be less than that. So take a look at it, explore it. It might be possible. And then also, if you didn't know, if you're locked into a 15-year mortgage, you don't have an option. You can't pay less than your mortgage every month. But if you get into a 30-year mortgage, now maybe you're not stretching yourself, I should say. You can always pay it off faster. So if for some reason times get a little harder, you just pay the minimum, no problem at all. That's what most people do anyway. But if things are getting a little bit better, maybe you're a little flush, you can always pay more. And if you pay double your mortgage on a 30-year mortgage, you'll actually pay it off in something like 9 years. So you'll pay it off pretty quick in the grand scheme of things, and you'll save yourself a ton of money on interest.
Yeah.
And that brings me to my last page, just my contact information. If any of this sounded interesting, or you just want to explore any of the ideas I had, or just chat, here's my contact information. I can put it in the chat too, and feel free to reach out.
Nice. Yeah, boy, great points right there, especially as you're starting off. And Ross can really help you out with all those interest rates, and as far as just talking about money markets, just simple things, your CDs that were in there. I mean, there's some good returns on that kind of stuff. And if you need to come up with a down payment, well, Alex just gave you a path, a formula to make $43,000.